thank you for being a guest here at CALMClass.com. This website is dedicated to one thing: to be able to give you a different mindset. To be able to stay calm in tough times is by changing how you think, because when you change how you think, it changes how you live. My name's Dwight Bain. I'll be your host through most of these lessons, but I'm really glad that you found us. I'm really glad that you're taking time out to watch a lesson that will be life-changing. So do this. Take good notes. Download the study guides. Let these life application principles make your life a better place. And then would you let us know how this is helping you? My thanks to you for watching. My thanks to our incredible team for making it happen. But most of all, my thanks to God, because He gives us principles that will change our life if we use them. Are you ready? Let's get started. God, thank you for these friends. Thank you for those that join us online at CALMClass.com. And thank you, God, especially to be able to gather together. We still have this freedom to be able to gather together and to talk about how Jesus Christ really does change everything. I pray, God, that as we study this lesson, as we dig into it, that you would use it to change hearts, but most of all, God, use it to change mine. And we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, I'm happy to tell you, and it won't shock some of you, I was one of the cool kids. Yep.
Is that a Walkman?
This isn't just a Walkman. This is the Sony AM/FM cassette Walkman. The bad boy is water resistant. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Are you ready, Naomi? You could listen to one side of one cassette at a time. And if you wanted to listen to the next song, all you got to do is hit fast forward. Pretty simple. This is the real deal. Wow. The Sony AM/FM. Here it is, here it is. Cassette. Pop that bad boy in. Put these dudes on. You're rocking. And I want you to know, I bought this to start my jogging program in 1990. Why is everybody laughing? And when I bought this, because this was expensive, in 1990 this was $100.
Wow.
Do you know how much it's worth today on the internet, on eBay? It is worth about 60 cents.
That's historic, right?
Yeah, it's a piece of history, but see, I mean, you would plug this in, and Sheila said, "Why did you get that?" And I said, "I'm going to start a jogging program. Leave me alone, woman." Well, at least I still have the Sony Walkman. Okay. But here's the reason I bring it up. Not just because it doesn't shock many of you that I was one of the cool kids. Still am, actually, in my own thinking. This company owned the world in 1990. They had the leading audio technology in the world. They had the most profitability. They had the largest market share. And get this, they had no competition. They owned the world. And then guess what happened? They didn't change. They didn't change. Technology changed, but they didn't change. And so, I think it was Naomi who said it. Yep. About 10 years ago, you see, I'm always trying to be forward thinking. So about 10 years ago, I bought one of these. It was more than $100 for my jogging program. And Sheila said, "What are you doing?"
Upgrade.
And I said, "I'm going to start a jogging program. I'm going to be like a marathoner, like Pat Williams. This is going to be fantastic." And you can listen to more than one song. In fact, you could listen to 10,000 songs. All right, and then these things came out, you see, and I thought, I need to get one of these iPhones so I can start a jogging program, because this way I can get my calls while I'm jogging, right? And listen to what Steve Jobs said, because here's the shocking thing. Today's lesson is about reinvention. It's about taking one small step to reinvent. And this is shocking to me. It was on January the 9th, 2007. That Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, held up a prototype, and here's what he said. "I've been looking forward to this day for 2.5 years. What we want to do is to make a leapfrog product that is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been and super easy to use. This is what iPhone is. It's an iPod, a phone, an internet mobile communicator. These are not three separate devices, and we're calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone, and here it is. We want to reinvent the phone. What's the killer app? The killer app is making calls. And it's amazing how hard it is to make calls on most phones. We want to let you see your contacts like never before, to sync your iPhone with your PC or your Mac. So in 2007, he said, we're going to create a product. It'll be your phone, your music, it'll be your email. What he didn't know is it'll be a place to watch Netflix. It'll be a place to watch cute cat videos that grandma sends you. One device, and you can put it all into one device. The Sony people didn't change. Have you noticed how Apple changes every year? In fact, have you noticed how Apple changes every year? And it seems like the price goes up. Have you noticed that? It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, price of progress. So every year there's a new one. Because then you have to get the new one, right? No, you don't have to get the new one. If you wait a little bit, the people with the first technology pay the most. All right? You can get technology that's a year or two older and it still works just as good, but here's the point. I can remember, like it was yesterday, a salesperson came to our company, 1985, and he said, I want to sell you a personal copier. Now back then there were copy centers everywhere. And I said, why would I need a personal copier? He said, because once your small company has a copier, you won't have to go stand in line at the copy center. And he showed me all the benefits, showed me all the details. It was a tabletop. It was kind of slow, but it would make it in different colors. You could, when I say not four color, so you could have, like, there was a red toner thing, you had to pull it out, put the red in if you wanted a red color. And I like to teach lessons like this, and so I went, oh, I could see the benefit of that. And then he ticked me off because I was real happy, even happy with the price, until right as he walked out, he said, you'll never be without a copier in your office again. And I thought, you just tricked me. Because you know what? We've always had a copier ever since. I still have my old flip phone. I think it works. But technology changes. When fax machines came out, I said, this is it. We've upgraded from manual typewriters to electric typewriters, a fax machine, and then word processors came out. And after the word processors came out, then its PCs came out. And guess what? If you don't change, you get left behind. And change is a pretty simple process if you can make one step, one decision. I'm going to show you the 5 roadblocks that get in the way today. But as you take a look at it, Steve Jobs changed. And because Jobs changed, even though he did not live, his concept, his company, lives on. And the reason they live on, and Sony doesn't even make those audio devices anymore, those are just relics for eBay, conversation pieces, they didn't change. And if you don't change, if you don't reinvent, you will be left behind in your career, and many times you'll be left behind more than that. Facing the end of life, that's what motivated Steve Jobs. Diagnosed with cancer 2006, 2007, everything in his life is about, I've got to get these products moving forward. Because when you realize you may not live forever, it's interesting to me, unless I think the undead, apparently if you're a zombie or a vampire, apparently you get to live forever. But most of us live about 100 years. I want you to make the most of it. Facing the end of life creates positive pressure. Now it creates pressure, but it's positive pressure to be able to reinvent your life. Because when Steve Jobs realized, I'm not going to live forever, now all of a sudden getting angry about waiting in line doesn't make as much sense. Being mad at what somebody said to you 20 years ago doesn't really make a lot of sense. Because if today's your last day, are you really going to spend it being mad at something somebody said to you or you thought they said about you on Facebook? You're going to spend your last day being moody and upset? You're going to spend your last day trying to organize your email files? I forget the name of the program, but there's now a program that when you die, when you expire, and it notifies your email and your Facebook and your Twitter and your Pinterest and your Instagram, so that I don't remember the name of it. I just,
What triggers it? Because if you're dead, what triggers it?
family member.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the chip that they implant in your head that the government uses. Yeah,
It's the thing in your arm that goes down.
yeah. So apparently, it's a family member then pushes a button. It also deletes all the text that you didn't want people to see at your funeral. So when you start to look at this, the end of life challenges people. I don't need to waste time here. As you take a look at this, moving away from normal is the beginning of a personal revolution. Moving away from normal. A normal life, an average life for an American is to be angry, is to be, so caught up in social media or reality TV. In fact, this week was fantastic. I had a really great week. A lot of neat things happened, but my favorite part of the week, with a lot of great experiences, hands down, number one, I'm speaking to a Brazilian group through my interpreter. Daniela is wonderful because she's from Brazil, but she has came to college in the United States, and so she's my interpreter for this group, and we have a great time because, when I have movements, she'll have movements because I'm speaking through her, right? And I said something about, don't waste your time keeping up with the Kardashians and Honey Boo Boo. And my interpreter stopped and said, what's a Kardashian? And what's a Honey Boo Boo? She said, I don't know what that is. And I said, I want to hug you. Thank God there's somebody on the planet who's not wasting time. Did you know that reality TV has made that one family over $350 million? Yeah, the one that starts with a K. $350 million that people pay for because they sit enthralled to see what are they going to say next, because my life may be screwed up, but it's not as screwed up as they are. Well, I'm kind of thinking they're getting the last laugh. Because if they're making hundreds of millions of dollars, because a lot of people stop and watch it, and remember, right now that's normal. That's average. And my challenge to you, if you want to reinvent your life, you can't stay at normal. You can't stay at average. Because if you stay at normal, then you'll end up at the end of your life with a lot of regrets. I want you to break out of that. I'm going to show you how. Warren Bennis, the economist, said people who cannot invent and reinvent themselves must be content with borrowed pastures, secondhand ideas, fitting in instead of standing out. Now, most people stay stuck. It's interesting. When you ask people, do you want to change? Do you want a better life? Do you want to be more stable financially? You want your family to be better, your marriage to be better? If you ask people, they'll say, oh yeah, can I get a witness? Yes, I want a better life. So then if you go one step further and say, so what you doing? What's your plan? My favorite question, especially when I'm talking to people in their 20s who are telling me how they've got it figured out and how they're going to do this and do this. And I said, that's a fantastic plan. That's great. Can you show me on paper? Can you show me how you're going to get there? So you're going to play in the NBA until you become a clothing designer, and then you're going to get your own reality TV. So can you show me how that works? Because you don't seem really that tall. Well, I haven't figured out that part yet. But I know after I play in the NBA, then I'm going to shift over and I'm going to start my own clothing line. I'm going to be the Jay-Z of my creative ideas. Fantastic. What's your plan? Favorite question, what's your plan? Show me your plan. Take a pen, take your electronic device and just show me your plan. How are we going to get there? Because they don't do it because of their emotions. Listen to M. Scott Peck, the psychiatrist. And the great thing, M. Scott Peck was a psychiatrist. He was not a Christ follower. And he started to do some research late in his life. And he started to do some research about what makes people change. And in the process of doing the research, he saw the thing that changes people the most is faith in Christ. And as a psychiatrist, very well-educated, successful man, he said, got on his knees, and he said, I surrender. And he became a Christ follower. He didn't become a religious person, he became a Christ follower. There is a difference. And his writings had so much power after that because he said, here's what causes people to change. Not psychiatry, the Bible. So M. Scott Peck said, the truth is that our finest moments are most likely to occur when we're feeling deeply uncomfortable, unhappy, or unfulfilled. For it is only in such moments, propelled by our discomfort, that we're likely to step out of our ruts and start searching for different ways or truer answers. So when I think about this process, if you look at the bottom of the page in your study guide, you'll see a chart. Mine's a little more detailed than yours at CALMClass.com. And so in the chart, it shows two paths. And then it shows the process over time. All right, this is called the slight edge theory, by the way. Some people call it the 1% solution. I call it a one-step process. And the idea is if you go and you take one step in the right direction, I call that NRT, the next right thing. If you do the next right thing, for one day it doesn't look that different. But if you do the next right thing the next day and do the next right thing the next day, over the course of a week, over the course of a month, you have some real difference happening, right? So what if I do the next wrong thing? The next wrong thing, and you'll see then that takes you down. Simple errors in judgment eventually will take you to a terrible place. Now, this is a concept my mom taught me as a small child, and I had a chance to practice it yesterday. All right, so Mom, this one is for you. This is a brand spanking new penny from the Bahamas. I found it because apparently some people don't want a brand spanking new penny from the Bahamas, but my mama taught me when I was a small child. Find a penny, pick it up all that day, you'll have good luck. And it was like, oh, brand new shiny penny, man, you've got my attention. And when I saw it was from the Bahamas, I thought, perfect, because my wife likes the Bahamas. And so the next time that we go to the Bahamas, I cannot pay for much of anything. But I've got a penny to remind me, I need to take her back to the Bahamas. She likes the Bahamas. One penny, if you compounded it daily, and then you compounded that daily, you know what? It turns into a lot of money. If you can save a penny, and then you can take that penny and then save that 2 cents, 4 cents, 8 cents, 16 cents. And you say, well, it's just a penny. Yeah, that's how savings works. If you can just keep saving on that path, some tremendous things happen. What happens if you don't save? Well, if you don't save, you save $2 and then you spend $3. Well, I think that's kind of back to the average American, right? So let me show you some small changes. Here's the first principle. Small changes compounded over long periods of time have monumental effects. Small change would be getting up 30 minutes sooner to spend time in the Bible, to have a devotional time. Small changes would be maybe turning off the evening news. I never liked that one. Even if I'm on it, I don't watch it. Because the news at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you don't want to put negative stuff in your head before you go to bed. That's not a good place to be because it's going to affect your sleep. And it's sad to me how many people, I can't go to sleep until I watch the evening trauma. Listen, and that's still a popular newscast, right? But a simple change, if you can sleep better, if there's one thing, somebody asked me yesterday, what's the one thing I can do that would change my life the most? I said, get a good night of sleep. If your brain is rested, it's the single best thing you can do for your health, single best thing you can do for your behavior. Bill Clinton, former president, loved this in his book, his biography, which is a pretty interesting read. He said, every bad decision I made in my life, and when you say the name former President Bill Clinton, you may think of one or two, right? He said, every bad decision I made in my life, I made when I was exhausted and I hadn't been sleeping well. Now, does that justify the bad decision? No, but it sure explains a lot. Because if you're really tired, if you're really exhausted, you're easier to tempt, right? When you're camped out in front of the Best Buy at 3 a.m. in your tent before Black Friday, you're easier to lure in to be able to punch a grandma to make sure you get a toaster for $2. I mean, because later you think, You know, I should have just kicked her. I mean, why did I hit her? Knocked her dentures right out. People don't think when they're exhausted. Isn't that interesting? Did you know that there are casinos that are open 24 hours a day? You can fly in, you can walk in the casino at midnight. They have lights that simulate daylight. They have oxygen pumped in through the air conditioning system so that you feel alive and energized, and the lights, and you feel so energized. Because if you're tired, you're easier to tempt. It's not in your notes, but that's a good thing to write down. If you're tired, you're easier to tempt. Simple changes. Simple disciplines create the habit of success and personal resilience over weakness. Certain simple disciplines, that's how AA works, that's how NA works. How do people break out of pornography addiction or gambling addiction? Some simple disciplines over time. You know, in AA, it's one day at a time. So it's not, you know, oh my goodness, will I ever drink again? Oh my goodness, I just am not going to drink today. Because if you're able to just do it a day at a time, you can do anything. Slight errors in judgment lead to catastrophic decisions flowing out of character flaws. Slight errors in judgment, man, can lead to catastrophic errors. The biggest airline disasters in history almost always relate to pilot error. Pilot error. Wow. And when you start to look at disasters in people's lives, many times it kind of comes down to a slight error in judgment. One path is about building faith, and that leads to deeper peace. One path is about building faith, leading to deeper peace. The other path is about fears, leading to inner confusion and panic. All right, so if I take the one-step solution, I'll get stronger in my faith. If I go on the other path, I'm going to get weaker. I'm going to have more fears, more doubts, more anxiety. You're always getting stronger or getting more stressed. There is no in-between. Look at the next principle. You're never just at the status quo. It's how our brain works. You're never just at the status quo. It's how our brain works. Adriana Huffington, who started the Huffington Post, said, fearlessness is like a muscle. I know from my own life that the more I exercise it, the more natural it becomes to not let my fears run me. So this got me thinking. If people know they should, you think most Americans know they should save money? Yeah. You think most Americans know that they shouldn't smoke tobacco? Or, for that matter, marijuana? You think that most Americans know they shouldn't drink too much? And certainly that most Americans have knowledge that they shouldn't drink and drive? You think most Americans know that they really should not have that double bacon cheeseburger and chase it down with a chocolate shake and some fries? You think most Americans know that? You think most Americans know that Krispy Kremes are of the devil? No, they're really not. It's angel food. It's the I think it's the frosting. Maybe that's from the devil, because because I've walked in there when the bell dings and the light goes off, and it's a little taste of heaven. Not that I know. A friend told me about this. A friend. I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for a friend of mine. Right? You think that most Americans know? You think most Americans know the right thing to do? What do you think? Yes or no?
Sure.
So how come they don't do it?
It's easier to go the other way.
Well, let's take a couple minutes and find out. At your table, a lot of new friends here today, so you have to introduce yourself by name. You have to say, hi, my name is, and introduce your name. Say it twice. I want people to learn each other's names. But then answer the question, if we know we should save, if we know that we should eat right, do right, how come Americans don't? Take a couple minutes, learn each other's names, answer the question, go. So what do you think? Americans know they're supposed to save. They're supposed to eat healthy. They're not supposed to smoke tobacco. What do you think? Just anybody. Yeah, Marty. They keep inventing new ways to tempt me. Wow, what is that about? All right, let's take a look. In your study guide, emotional roadblocks prevent reaching God's purpose and potential. The more emotions that get in the way, and in particular we'll look at five things that flow right out of your personality. That's what blocks us from God's purpose and potential. Don't give the devil credit. People say, well, I would have done it, but the devil made me. Who was it? Flip Wilson, the old comedian? Yeah, it was Geraldine. Yeah, it was, right? So, to be able to say, the devil made me smoke that, drink that, steal that, sleep with that, watch that, spend that, I don't think it's the devil. I think that God gives us the power to make the next right decision. Is there a devil? Yes. Does he live in Washington, D.C.? No. That's just a rumor. Does not. The devil is in lots of places, but he tries to deceive us. And one of the biggest things that he deceives us about is you have the power to make the next right decision. You do have the power. Yeah, but Dwight, everybody in my family's an alcoholic, and I'm an alcoholic, and nobody's ever been able to. No, God gives you the power to change. Now, you have to have your emotions. Here's the deal. You have to have your beliefs and your emotions, and I need another hand, and your behavior in alignment. Because if I know that I believe that I should save money, or be healthy, or not blow up the rage on the people I say I love, right? So if I say I know that, my beliefs, then my behavior should match, right? Because people many times will say, I believe I should treat the people that I love with respect, but their behavior's way over here. Why? Let me put one filter in the middle. Life-changing filter. Here it is. It's the Bible. Because the Bible, see, if I go from my belief, people should treat me with respect, but my behavior says I don't treat them with respect, okay, that's inconsistent. But watch if you change it. If you put the Bible first, and then you let the Bible shape your beliefs, now you're not mad all the time. Jesus walked around, he was angry at greedy, manipulative, hypocritical, religious people. That was it. What about the sinners? No, he spent a lot of time with them. He loved them. He wasn't mad at them at all. He died for them. Died for the religious hypocrites too. But it was the religious hypocrites who thought they knew it all. And by the way, those are the ones that killed him. Because when you're able to walk with God, all of a sudden you're not mad at the world. Because you trust God to be in charge of things. You're not scared all the time because you trust God that he will be your shepherd. And he will protect you. And he will provide for you. Even if everything is falling apart. And I've given you the big five, it's called. Because why won't people do what they know they're supposed to do? Big five in personality. This, by the way, is one of the most popular psychological profiles. The big five factors, psychological factors. This is from the writings of Sanjay Servista, Oliver John, Laura Newman, and Chris Soto. They wrote a handbook about personality. From that, you can look it up online. You can take the big five, and it will show you where you scale in these 5 areas of personality. The first one is openness to experience. Openness to experience. That's one of the big 5. And the openness is a general appreciation for art, emotion, adventure, unusual ideas, imagination, curiosity, and variety of experiences. People who are open to experience are intellectually curious. They're open to emotion. They're sensitive to beauty. They're willing to try new things. They tend to be, when compared to closed people, more creative and more aware of their feelings. They're also more likely to hold unconventional beliefs. What are some of the symptoms, some of the behavioral markers of a person who's very open? I have a rich vocabulary, I have a vivid imagination, I have excellent ideas, I'm quick to understand things, I use difficult words, I'm full of ideas. Then what's the opposite of that? What do people that are closed look like? I'm not interested in abstractions, I don't have a good imagination, I have difficulty understanding abstract ideas. Okay, so on the little bullet points, some of those are an indication of somebody who's on one side, some are indications of somebody on the other. So are you an open person? Are you a closed person? People who are open to new ideas, traditional religion will give you old ideas. I do not recommend that one. It won't take you to good places. It'll tend to make you mad and somewhat narrow-minded. And the most extreme, it will make you violent to defend your beliefs. That's why it's interesting to me, if somebody believes that their God, their deity is all-powerful, and then somebody else does a cartoon saying, I don't think so. And you have tens of millions of people who say, kill him. It's like, I don't know if your God's that powerful if somebody insulting in a comic makes you want to go and blow up the cartoon office. And by the way, that was a satirical magazine in Paris. You may remember the terrorists blew up earlier this year, shot a bunch of people. Because how dare you say that about our deity? You know, my belief is that God's kind of big enough to fight his own battles. But see, a person who's very closed-minded eventually becomes very angry, right? So think about yourself, open or closed. Unfortunately, many Americans are closed. Biblical values will change your life. Religious values will make you very set in your ways. Don't recommend that one. The next one is conscientiousness. By the way, there, to the new guest, there's an answer key on the back page. I couldn't spell conscientiousness either. Can't even say it half the time. So I put it in the answer key so you'll know how to spell it properly, because if there wasn't for spell check, I don't think I could spell my name. I just don't like it when I start to put in my name on Siri, and it calls me Darlene. I never like that. It's Dwight, and she'll spell Darlene. It's like, it's just not even funny. But there is a secret. Well, side note, I did Siri in an Australian woman's voice because I'm not as angry at an Australian woman. Because when I walk the path of Mordor, when I get to New Zealand, I want that to be the voice in the back of my head, right? To those of you who don't know, that's just another way of saying, this is one geeky boy right here. Conscientiousness is a tendency to show self-discipline. Remember, you're scoring yourself, act dutifully, aim for achievement against measures of outside expectations. In a related way, in which people control, regulate, and direct their impulses. So we would call this impulse control as well as self-discipline. High scores on conscientiousness indicate a preference for planning rather than the opposite, which is spontaneous behavior. Living in the moment. The average level of conscientiousness rises among young adults and then declines in older adults. So if you're conscientious, you would say, I'm always prepared, I pay attention to details, I get chores done right away, I like order, I follow a schedule, I'm exacting in my work, I leave my belongings around, would be the opposite. I make a mess of things, would be the opposite. I often forget things to put things back in their proper place. If you're not conscientious, your rental car, when you turn it in to Hertz, looks like, a homeless family have been living in it. Instead of when I bring it back to Hertz, they'll say, did you drive this car? Well, yeah, but I pick up my trash. Mama taught me to pick up stuff. Daddy always taught me treat somebody else's car the same way you want to treat your car. So, of course, I just borrowed it for a couple of days. I'm bringing it back to you. Here's the keys. Man, that's really clean. It's shocking to me that should be shocking, right? When you look at the next one, it's extroversion. Extroversion is characterized by a breadth of activities. All right, so you've got extrovert, introvert. Now, that's personality, but it has a lot to do with why you either say, man, I'm willing to take a chance. An extrovert, when there's an opportunity, jumps on it. I mean, does anybody want to go to the Bahamas? If you do, here you go. Here's a penny to get you closer to the Bahamas. Just come get it anytime you want to, right now. All right? So when I think about extroversion is just come get it because it's yours if you want it. All you have to do is be extrovert. There you go, Naomi.
Hey.
Going to the Bahamas. How about that?
Hey.
The youngest among us shall lead us all. There's one penny toward your next Bahama trip. Because an extrovert says, hey, why not? Worst thing that can happen, right? An introvert says, man, I'd like to do that. Man, I want that penny, brand new penny from the Bahamas, but I don't know. Extrovert, introvert can hold you back. Agreeableness is number 4. And the opposite of agreeableness would be disagreeable. People that are agreeable, when they see I should take the next appropriate step, people who are disagreeable sometimes are afraid to take that step. It leads to the last one, neuroticism. Neuroticism. Now, this is not the Sigmund Freud neuroticism. This is the tendency to experience negative emotions, like hanging on to your anger, anxiety, or depression. Remember the big 5 psychological profile. This is sometimes called emotional instability. Moreover, individuals high in this type of neuroticism tend to experience more negative life events. But it also changes in response to positive and negative life experiences. At the other end of the scale, individuals who score low on this one are less easily upset. Somebody's in line in Target in front of them with 12 items in the 10-item lane, and they go, doesn't matter. They're less easily upset. They tend to be calm, emotionally stable, less emotionally reactive, and free from persistent negative feelings. So when you score yourself, do you let life really mess with you, ruffle your feathers? Or do you go, it's just not worth the stress? There are bad things that are happening in our world. When I look to God, it seems like He's got it under control, so I don't have to be manipulated. And this is the time of year that the people are going to send you videos, and they're going to show you things on TV, and they're going to say, there's all these starving children. The American Red Cross, after the Haiti earthquake, did a concert and a bunch of TV specials. Help us help Haiti. Raised $600 million
Wow.
to help Haiti. As of last week, according to the New York Times, do you know how many houses they built? Houses, because they said we're going to rebuild Haiti. You know how many houses they built in Haiti? With over $600 million. How many? Zero is not the answer. 10, too high.
Oh, brother.
6. New York Times did a big expose, and they said, and it was also covered by a number of other publications, and they said, you raised $600 million, you built 6 houses, don't you think your administrative costs are a little high? That's $100 million of giving
Per house.
per house. Nope, these are just the American Red Cross.
The American Red Cross raised the money?
The Red Cross.
What was their response?
Their response was, we do not give out our financial records to the general public because we find it confuses them.
Because they're hiding something. They're hiding.
So when I saw that, I was, of course, a little shocked. Wish I had my $10 back that I texted during the concert. Text, 2222, give $10. And I thought, well, it's a great concert. And don't blame the celebrities in the concert. Everybody wanted to do something to help Haiti. The problem is, there are people who will exploit you for money. And good stewardship says, I should pay attention so I don't get manipulated. Because life, I'm telling you, life will come and life will knock you down. That's part of life. Turn to someone next to you and say, that's life. That's life. Here's what I want you to see. When you are able to have a biblical foundation, you can rise up above it. King David was there in Psalms 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me in the words of my groaning? God, I cry in the daytime, but it doesn't seem like you hear. In the night season, I'm not silent, but you, God, are holy, enthroned in the praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in you. They trusted and you delivered them. They cried to you, and they were delivered. They trusted in you, and they were not ashamed. Verse 11 said, be not far from me, for trouble is near. There's none to help. But you, O Lord, don't be far from me. My strength, hasten to help me. You have answered me. I'll declare your name to my brethren. In the midst of the assembly, I will praise you. Those who fear the Lord, praise the Lord. For he has not despised or abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, nor has he hidden his face from them. But when he cried to him, he heard. My praise shall be of you in the great assembly. Those who seek him will praise the Lord. Let your heart hear forever. All the ends of the world shall remember and turn aside, and all the families of the nations shall worship before you. And he will rule over the nations as a reference to our Christ. It will be recounted of the Lord to the next generation. And this is my favorite verse, is verse 31. They will come and declare his righteousness to a people who will be born that he has done this. Hey, that's you and me. That's you and me. David was so beat down by life, knocked down by life, hammered by life, flattened by life, but he had one secret. One secret. He always went back to God. He always went back to God, and that shaped his thinking. It changed his personality. His natural inclination as the youngest, the shortest, the most overlooked, the most parental alienation syndrome, the most probably psychological baggage, was filtered with his relationship with God. And that's what changed everything. So here's some final principles. Reinvention of your life is not easy, and it involves overcoming great resistance. It's not easy to do the next right thing. Not easy. It's not easy. There's great resistance. The key to reinvention is to be secure in what you believe. The key to reinvention is to be secure in what you believe. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? This second, right now, what can I do to keep moving forward? Yeah, but Dwight, you don't understand my financial burdens. What can you do right now? What's the next right decision? Write it down in your study guide. NRT. Next right thing. What's the next right thing you can do? And that will change everything. If you'll see the guide, the graphic up at the top on page 8, it just shows 2 paths. And in the very beginning, when you make the next right decision, you can hardly tell because the paths are so close together. But if you'll keep walking on that path, pretty soon there's a major difference. A major difference. I mean, if you go to the gym and you exercise for one day, probably going to look a lot like you did yesterday. Not going to big change. But if you do that like a friend of mine, she's lost 65 pounds since June the 1st. I said, how did you do that? You know, and she said, went vegan. And she said, I eat as much vegan. I don't add things to it. And she said I started doing a little bit of exercising, playing tennis. 65 pounds, wow. I thought maybe the secret is not getting the next cool device. Apparently the secret involves eating different. I mean, who knew? Didn't even understand this. So look at this final principle. You want a better life? You want the 1 cent solution, the 1-step solution? Here it is. Begin to worship. That's the key. Begin to worship. Because if you want to feel better, act better, live better, you start with God. You start with God. Steve Jobs said, we will keep reinventing. And it changed everything. And it wasn't really that long ago when you think about it. 2007, these things were announced. Nobody had them. Nobody had them, and now it seems like smart technology is everywhere. And smart technology keeps reinventing. But there's a better plan than that. It's to keep reinventing. Because every day His mercies are new. Every day you can go to God's Word and you'll learn something new every single time. It will make you a better person. It will change your life because you're taking the next big step in the right direction. Let's pray that we do. God, thank you for these friends. Help each of us to live better because of our time here today. Thank you for those that watch at CALMClass.com, and help each of us, God, to walk on a new path and then bring some friends along. Thank you for our time. In Christ's name, amen. God bless. Hi, Dwight Bain here, and I want to tell you about CALMClass.com. The website that you came to is actually a teaching lesson that we record in Orlando, Florida, every single week. You can actually come be part of the live audience. If you're in Florida, maybe you're visiting the Orlando area, come check us out. We meet at 3000 South John Young Parkway. It's on the campus of First Baptist Orlando, which is actually a pretty large place. So what you're looking for is a large building by a lake. It's a big 3-story building called Faith Hall. And we're in Faith Hall, upstairs in room 301. But if you don't get a chance to come live to the presentation in Orlando, then if these lessons about making your life work better, to get past frustration in relationships, maybe frustrations on the job, maybe you're just kind of feeling beat up about what you believe. If you enjoy these lessons, would you do me a favor? Would you tell a friend? Because by your experience of telling other people, hey, this website helped me, these lessons helped me, when you're doing that, you're helping take the message that we teach in Orlando and to be able to spread that to the entire world. And thanks.